Now, first off, before I go any further, number one, you probably can tell that I don't sound like myself. I get some sinus congestion, so my apologies if I sound a little bad tonight. Um, Ashley, as you can see, if you're watching this right now, because you're listening to it, but if you're actually watching right now, you see Ashley is there, but he's not really saying anything. So hopefully he'll chime in soon because now we're live for another edition of the WWE Monday Night Raw podcast here on the Popcast Network. And I'll say right now that this is not just a regular podcast about Raw. Oh no, we're going to bring a little UK flavor. Yes, with the U. How appropriate. And real quick, I want to welcome Jeremy Mills to chat. As always, waiting for Pedro to show up, actually, as I can hear myself, which is wonderful. Forgot to put that on mute. Anyway, power of live radio, everyone. So basically what we've got tonight is not only are we talking about Raw, we're also going to be talking about the United Kingdom Championship Tournament, which concluded this past weekend. And definitely want to get our thoughts on that. So I'm not alone. I'm actually not joined by Ashley currently. Hopefully he'll be joining us a little bit, but also joining me with his dashboard confessional, Great Traveling Scott.
Hey. Great to be back. Sorry, I've missed the last few Monday Night Raws, just timing wise, and and driving. It's not always fun to line up the schedules, but I've been watching Raw. I've been paying attention, and I did watch tonight's show. And I watched the last half of the UK tournament, which was, yeah. I guess we'll jump right into it.
Yeah, we will. So like I said, just like clockwork, Pedro joins us in chat. So yes, it never fails. Jeremy and Pedro join us right in chat. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. So like I said, I'm a little under the weather, but I'm not sick. So, I mean, I guess just sinuses. Hopefully that'll get gone soon because don't forget, this Tuesday, we have our live reactions to the Oscar nominations sometime Tuesday afternoon. We'll be up here on the network. And then we're going to do a video, me, AJ, and Ashley talking all about the actual awards themselves and where we think they could go. Not exactly a prediction video. That will come later, and it'll probably come sometime in February. Now, that right now, I want to bring up a couple of things. So we're going to talk about the UK tour tournament. God, I don't know why I said tour. The United Kingdom Championship Tournament. So the title reminiscent very much, Scott, I don't know if you agree with me, it kind of reminds me a little bit of the old Undisputed Championship.
It does. It has that what you would typically describe as it does have a UK feel and almost like a royalty feel with the insignia on the front.
Right.
It's very, very. It's a cool championship. Don't get me wrong. And
Right.
I mean, if I remember correctly, when Triple H was introducing the tournament, I mean, he said that this would be a start of WWE's potential program, which I pretty much just wrapped up in a nutshell. That I think they're going to have a live UK show, emanating from UK.
Right. And basically, actually, they really wanted to strike when World of Sport. See, they wanted to strike before World of Sport could sign all of the talent. Notice a lot of the names that were in the actual tournament are people that World of Sport didn't sign. So a lot of the names that you would expect to be in the tournament, World of Sport did sign. So like your Joe Hendrys and your Kratos and people that probably should be in this that are not. But a lot of names very synonymous with UK wrestling, UK independent wrestling. And I think that a weekly show, given the fact that their contracts, it seems like what we're hearing, obviously we don't know exactly, we don't have a contract in front of us, but it sounds like the contract is not a typical WWE contract. It's not an NXT contract. It's a contract with basically pretty much exclusivity. That's the reason why people like Pete Dunne and Mustache Mountain and Joseph Connors are no longer working for What Culture Pro Wrestling, which before we get into anything, that's the promotion that has been completely ignored in all the putovers for the actual tournament itself, because they were show like the people that run Progress and the people that run ICW, and they would show all the various UK indie promotions, but never once did they even acknowledge What Culture Pro Wrestling, even though a lot of the fans are doing so. And yeah,
which
Jeremy
is funny because it's like a direct like point the finger at Stone Cold. But I don't follow. If anybody's wondering, I do not follow UK wrestling.
Right.
So.
And the person that normally is all about any sort of thing with the UK indie scene is dead silent right now. So I guess right now, Ashley might as well be Mary Shaw. So if you get that reference, then wow. So we're going to go into the tournament, and then we're going to talk about Raw. Hopefully, Ashley will be joining us to give his thoughts a little bit later. So as you can see, I wasn't preparing to go into this with just me and Scott. So if it's a little bit jumbled, that's the reason why. I made a lot of notes, obviously, because that's how I do things. So I like the presentation for starters. It feels a lot like the old Royal Albert Hall, like Battle Royal shows, like the one they put on Coliseum Video in like the 90s. Gives me that vibe.
Yeah, I can see that. It also gives me the vibe of the old Raw settings.
Well, it's funny because that was the next bit of notes I had. It kind of felt a whole lot like the Manhattan Center in the early Monday Night Raw days.
Yeah.
You got Michael Cole and Nigel McGuinness at ringside, just like Vince McMahon used to be at ringside with Randy Savage, Jerry Lawler, and just the various other people that Vince worked commentary with during the Raw days. Johnny Polo. I mean, all the people that Vince did commentary with. And that's exactly the setup that we had. And then when we actually saw Nigel and Cole later on in the show, they were up in the balcony. So that was cool too. I like that as well. Right away, Michael Cole basically like waxes poetic about Joseph Connors. Interesting thing about Joseph Connors, if anybody that's never seen any of his indie stuff or any of his WCPW stuff that we talk about every week here on Wednesday when we talk about What Culture on the Wednesday Wrestling Podcast, you would know right away that Joseph Connors would be a perfect fit for Sanity, honestly, especially with the fact that the artist formerly known as Big Damo, Killian Dane, just officially joined Sanity on NXT. I could totally imagine Alexander Wolf, Killian Dane, Eric Young, Nikki Cross, and Joseph Connors. I think that's a great idea. Now, granted, I know these aren't NXT contracts, but maybe if everything works out, maybe it's possible that we could see something like that end up bleeding over and having someone like a Joseph Connors join NXT. And it's funny because when it comes down to it, Michael Cole's like, he's going to win. He's going to win everything. But then again, after he says that, he contradicts himself. And after saying, oh, I love Joseph Connors, he's amazing. Like, I want Trent Seven to win. I was like, okay. So WWE, of course, video packages, they show a lot of Progress, show a lot of ICW. We'll talk about this some more on Wednesday when we get some more news, some more actual tidbits on it. But Scott, it's very interesting. I know you don't follow the UK indie scene, but ICW is right now in the final stages of becoming part of the WWE network.
Really? As in WWE bought their library or bought out the promotion? Or
No,
what happened?
They didn't buy out the promotion. I think what basically they're going to be doing is they're going to be showing. See, there was a lot of surveys. I never got one, even though I'm a day one subscriber, and I got grandfathered to the network, and I've not gotten rid of it like a lot of people I know have. When it comes down to it, they basically put out a survey saying all the indie promotions that you would like to see featured on the network, like Ring of Honor was on there, and a lot of the UK indies were on there. A lot of the various indies, PWG was on there. A lot of the stuff we talked about on Wednesday was actually listed on there. And it's very interesting to see that of all the things they had in that survey, ICW was the one they went after. And it's interesting because with a PG-13 environment, ICW would be very interesting on the network.
I could see that. So are they going to use ICW as kind of like where they could emit the the UK show from, or is it going to be totally separate?
I mean, I think it'll be totally separate. I think what they're going to do is they're just going to air like you said, they're probably just going to air their catalog, like the old like Ashley was talking about with me off camera. He was talking about using like the Fight Club shows, and maybe doing that. That would make sense. So that's probably going to be the ICW get on the WWE network when that does happen. But hopefully we'll get more information tomorrow when we actually are able to talk about it at 9 p.m. the Wednesday Wrestling Podcast. So yeah, check that out. So let's talk about the tournament, shall we? So we start off the show with Trent Seven and HC Dyer. Big chance for Mustache Mountain, obviously. Real quick, Pedro says, it seems like WWE tries to get the small fishes instead of the big fishes in the wrestling companies. I'm surprised they have gone after TNA when the time was there and stuff. As I think Vince has learned the hard way, buying out your competition is not a good thing in the wrestling business. Because if you buy out your competition, you don't really have to put up to anything. So that's a horrible way to word it, but basically you don't really have to strive to be anything. You don't have to be best. You can be mediocre because you're the only game in town. And I know TNA is like very much down when it comes to WWE, but at least there's somewhat of an alternative. And then now you've got people, especially with Wrestle Kingdom 11, a lot of people are jumping to New Japan. So WWE is going to probably go after New Japan again, because obviously they took the Good Brothers, they took Shinsuke Nakamura, they took AJ Styles, and a lot of people are wondering if they're going to take Kenny Omega too. And I still don't think that's going to happen. Like we talked about on Wednesday, I think that Kenny Omega is going to re-sign with New Japan, and he's probably going to win the cup, and he's probably going to win the title before he moves over to the G1 matches they have in California. Obviously before the G1 this year, which, Kenny could win again. You never know. Unless they give it to Tetsuya Naito. That's a story for Wednesday. So there's not that many alternatives. So when Vince bought WCW and then subsequently bought ECW as well, he bought all his competition. And that means he didn't have to work hard, because why? I mean, he could put out anything for 2 or 3 hours because you have to watch it. It's wrestling.
That's why they did the first draft and separated Raw and SmackDown,
right,
to even out the rosters. And I think it eventually snowballed. I mean, they got they combined the rosters again because they started losing stars, and stars were going to TNA. And then and I think that's why Vince and company split the rosters again, to give themselves competition within themselves, but also you got TNA, you got Ring of Honor. I mean, you got all these fans that like their independents or like their smaller B shows, TNA and Ring of Honor. And I'm not knocking them.
Right.
I'm just not a TNA. I'm not a TNA fan. I've been to a show, but
I'm sure that's not the only TNA show you'll go to.
Probably not. But I mean, let's just face it. TNA was just a glorified concept to bring duplicate of WCW.
I mean, but like
it had a different concept.
Right, and Anthem is changing the company as well, like getting rid of the letters TNA and just basically sticking with Impact Wrestling and the weird blue owl logo.
Right.
But the thing is, we're basically saying right now that when you buy your competition, then there's really no competition. And when there's no competition, you can basically laze off because there's no reason to really try. And Vince knows that. But now people are breathing down his neck. I mean, TNA is never going to be like contending for WWE spot, but I mean, it's always going to be in there. It's always going to be in the conversation until the company falls apart. I mean, it's fallen apart so many times, and everybody thought it was on its deathbed, and TNA is still surviving. So kudos to TNA for still sticking around.
And the only reason, let's be honest, if Vince wanted to really buy it, it would just be for the library.
Oh yeah, they buy the library because you can do a lot. Yeah. You do a lot with Christian. You do a lot with Kurt Angle that plays up into the Hall of Fame.
AJ.
Yeah. Oh everything. Yeah. All the TNA stuff that they have with the current roster members. Absolutely.
Yep.
That's why, if you haven't noticed, even though Vince says he doesn't view TNA as competition, you see a lot of videos when they're doing video packages of a lot of people that do not work for the company that are getting beaten by WWE guys in the video packages to make look stronger.
Oh, yeah.
But so, like I said, Ashley hopefully will be joining us very soon. But we'll get to that in a minute. So it's Trent Seven and HC Dyer. Big chance for Mustache Mountain, obviously. I love this crowd. This crowd's amazing.
I agree with that.
Michael Cole, okay, I'll say this right off the top. Michael Cohen followed me a long time ago. Still don't know why. I've never actually talked to the guy. I've never even messaged him on Twitter. Proof positive that somebody on WWE is listening to us. So I'm pretty sure Aaron's the reason why that happens, because that's usually why anybody would get banned or get blocked on Twitter because of things that Aaron said. But anyway, I'll give Michael Cole complete credit here. Just like when we did the Beast in the East show in Japan, the one we did the podcast right afterwards, it was like at 10 a.m. in the morning. Michael Cole, when he is not being micromanaged, is a lot better commentator. When he is not being forced to put over like Roman Reigns or Braun Strowman or just all the storylines and actually can focus on the wrestling in ring, he's not bad. He still doesn't know move names, but he's learning. And I'll give him that. And Nigel McGuinness, my God, it's about time he got to WWE. I wish he would have made it there as an in-ring competitor. I really do. It sucks that Nigel never got to compete full-time in a WWE ring because he totally deserved it. But I'm very glad he still got a job with the company. And if you watch Nigel's documentary, you'll feel even more for Nigel's situation, and you'll be very happy to see that Nigel did really well and actually got a spot in WWE. Even though he's not working, he's still on the roster, and that's all that matters. He can still train people. I mean, he can still do stuff in the Performance Center if they really want him to. So, yeah, picking up Nigel McGuinness and Johnny Saint is a very big pickup for WWE. So, yeah, they're doing really well with bringing in to the future by hiring the past and the present. So I think that's a really big feather in the cap for the company, to be honest. Yeah, the show's all over the place already.
I do have to say, by listening, I only caught the last half of the UK tournament, but listening to Cole on that last half,
right,
and then listening to him on Raw, he's two different people. It is crazy.
Oh yeah, when Vince is not here either.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he was completely different. It was so awesome because he brought even. It's kind of like Michael Cole at WrestleMania. He gets all that hype and all that energy flowing through him. His voice starts to crack. He's losing his voice by the end of the show.
Right.
It's so awesome when he becomes, a fan. And obviously, I think Cole was a fan before he even got the job.
Well, I mean, see, that's the thing that I bring up with me, too. It's like me being a former commentator. That's the reason why you get the weird recaps that I put out that no other podcast does. And because I can go move for move if I choose to, because it's something I love doing. I love talking about the intricacies of the match. I don't necessarily just like, well, this happened, but this happened. And I like being able to like rapid fire talk about it to make you get that visual picture in your head that if you didn't see it live, or you don't have a way to see it live or see it on archive anywhere, then you can still imagine it happening. I do this as a service to everyone. So Dyer got a really good near fall on the Ripcord Blue Thunder for a near fall. Frog Splash misses. Trent Seven hits his version of the Rainmaker. What's with everybody ripping off Okada this week? Seriously. I know probably Ashley will tell me immediately that Trent Seven's been using this for a while, and I can understand that, but I don't recall seeing him do that in WCPW. But then again, he didn't really do much in WCPW when he was around. Which is going to be an interesting show on Wednesday when we talk about that, because they got some new stuff to talk about, too. That's enough for the 3 count, so it's called the 7-Star Lariat. For some reason, right after the match was over, they show like a split second of Jordan Devlin, and then they just cut back. to the ring. I was like, okay, they messed that up. But yeah, this was good. This was good for what it was. It was short. It was a good way to kick off the show. Another thing I will give Michael Cole credit, he did his homework. Even if he was given a cheat sheet, he did his homework. He knew about what's going on with the fact that Trent Seven was mentioned that he was a Progress Tag Team Champion, and I like that. I like the fact that they actually brought it up. And that stuck to the rest of the night too. It's a solid opener. It wasn't a great match, but it did what it had to do, honestly. Any thoughts? Oh, you didn't see the show.
I didn't see the first half.
This is gonna be
breeze through it.
It's gonna be a fun show. Okay, so next match we had Mini Finn Balor himself, Jordan Devlin, taking on Martin Stone, as NXT fans would know him as Danny Burch. Very interesting finish to this match. Well, first off, we show the fact that immediately Danny Burch really is loud at spot calling, and I had to write that down because it had to be said. Some good stuff here until we got to the finish, and it was a very odd finish. Body scissors roll up for a near fall, and Devlin hit a rolling round kick, and he busted Danny Burch open hard way, and he went for a cover, and he went 1, 2, and at 3, he threw the shoulder up, but the referee still called the finish. Crowd was chanting BS, like quite literally chanting BS. And I completely understand that. Yeah, give your thoughts, Pedro. You said you watched little bits and pieces of the tournament before we get to Raw. Very interesting finish. This was the case of the referee basically making a judgment call. I really think an audible was called here. When the hard way happened, they changed the finish of the match. I don't think that was the planned finish. I almost guarantee you it wasn't the planned finish. But in essence, it actually made sense to go through that, because after they committed to that as the finish, even though it definitely wasn't, they ended up making Jordan Devlin an even bigger heel afterwards, which was a good thing to do, honestly. They really had the crowd on his case the whole time.
Yeah, and it comes into play on the second night too.
Right.
Which was really cool, because I remember seeing when it happened, and then seeing the video, or seeing the video first, like, this is what happened, and this is what he's, it's Devin versus, we'll get into that. And This is how the match ended last night. I was like, whoa, that seemed like an audible too. So that's what I thought.
Yeah, and I mean, you kind of had to, like, because
the ref went like, well, you got blood everywhere, dude. Luckily, we have extra, canvas.
It's funny throughout the first night, there was that big blood spot that was on the mat the whole time, and that was just like there the whole time. So.
Oh, it was? Oh, so.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Different rules, I guess. Because usually in WWE, there's blood. Oh, new canvas.
Well, I mean, for their credit, the referee put on gloves immediately when it happened. So just to play up the heelishness of Devlin after the match was over, Devlin ended up super kicking Danny Burch and leaving him laying, which actually worked really well and played him up as the first real heel of the tournament to start out. Because obviously the crowd that were packing the building were fans of all the indie work of everybody in this tournament. So they were all fans. They were very rambunctious, and they definitely were into mostly everything, even sometimes just to get themselves over. But then again, that happened. We'll get to that in the next match, actually. It's interesting because they really played up the Balor influence, even showing Finn in the front row at one point. I thought that was really well done. Considering the fact that I called Danny Burch and Pete Dunne to be the finals on Wednesday. I did get one of those right. But I'm very surprised they didn't put Burch over here, but I think they had to call an audible because of the hard way with the kick to the back of the head. I mean, generally speaking, kicks to the back of the head shouldn't bust you open. Not normally, but I mean, I guess there's a first time, not really a first time for everything, but I mean, I'm sure it's happened before, but still. I mean, they had to call an audible. I mean, the referee looks like a goof because he's the one that had to count a pinfall when there was a kick out, but referee's decision always counts. And again, I have worked a show where a guy got pinned with a basic elbow drop just because he didn't kick out. So we get to our next match. So it is Sam Gradwell and Saxon Huxley. This is the worst match of the tournament, easily. Thankfully, it didn't go very long. The only thing I will give to this, Scott, I don't know if you've heard this or not, but this match is famous for one big reason.
Mm-hmm.
Saxon Huxley, the Muscle Cat, he comes out. He's got the facial hair. He's got the long hair. He's kind of got a, let's just say, a savior appearance, if you will. So the crowd was chanting, and this is true, "Let's go, Jesus," and the other crowd was saying, "Jesus sucks." One of the greatest things I've ever heard from a wrestling crowd ever.
I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that because that just sounds hilarious. Somebody's got to dub that and put that in a show somewhere and like a podcast because that's just hilarious. Oh yeah, coming soon.
Yeah, this match wasn't good. Basically, they were chanting for Jesus the whole time, which is Huxley. Gradwell wins with a swan dive headbutt, and the crowd was chanting, "Thank you, Jesus." And then we see Dave Taylor in the crowd.
The UK is always very, very boisterous when it comes to chants, and they're a very smart crowd because you can tell their influence at WrestleMania. It's pretty much how most chants start is through at WrestleMania is through because of the huge presence of the UK crowd. It's like they might not go to an event, they might go to a couple small events because over there the indies are just crazy,
right?
With all the chants and stuff. I mean, look how Bayley got her chant.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's like they might go to a few shows but they save all their money up and they come over on holiday for freaking WrestleMania.
And we will encounter them in a couple of months.
Great! Just bring some good beer over.
Oh boy. Bring me some sipping snacks, Soda. Here's the thing.
Oh my god.
Now, then we get to a really solid match. The Bruiserweight Pete Dunne against Roy Johnson.
Pete Dunne is not no cruiserweight.
Oh, no, he's the Bruiserweight. There's a difference.
Oh, sorry. I didn't hear the B to the C.
Yeah,
to the K.
I mean, technically, he is a cruiserweight, but I mean, still.
He has the moves of a cruiserweight, but the weight of a heavyweight. He's a stout guy. I'd say that much.
He's got the Sami Callihan hair going on, and he's got like a mixture of Bryan Danielson and Fit Finlay. So I guess that's a good way to compare him. I like this because right away, like he slaps the hand on the handshake, and I was like, "Yep, this is where it's going to be fun." So this match was just brutal for what it was. I like this because Dunne like nailed him with a right hand when Johnson dives off the middle rope, and Dunne would get in trouble for a bit. And Johnson hits a right hand. He gets no-sold. Gets countered out. Johnson hits his version of the big ending. Gets a near fall on that. And it pretty much ends when Pete Dunne hits a rebound German suplex. And then he hits the Orange Crush, which apparently I was not aware of this. Pete Dunne is like the king of the Orange Crush. He is the Simon, like the Nova of the Orange Crush. Sorry, Kenta. But the thing is, Kabashi would have been proud, that's for sure. And it's the same with Easy Money. Anyway, so he gets the win with the bitter end, which is a pump handle in a flatliner. Pretty decent for what it was. Basically proved how much of a star Pete Dunne is, and everyone knew that going in. I like this because he became the biggie heel of the tournament, but not quite yet. I'll get to that. We get our next match, which is Wolfgang versus Tyson T-Bone. Tyson T-Bone very interesting. He basically was doing the Elias Sampson gimmick without the music. I guess the best way to put it. He's a gypsy. I think that's the best way to put it. He's not a drifter. He's a gypsy. So it's about the same thing. We see the owners of Progress Wrestling in the crowd. I like this. When the handshake happens, Tyson ends up headbutting Wolfgang right away. Crowd was chanting for ICW. Thought that was cool. Wolfgang hit the wasteland. A middle rope moonsault. Got a near fall. So he ends up finishing Tyson with a swanton, which is really cool. Basically what happens is T-Bone goes for a superplex, gets blocked, gets knocked off. Of course, Wolfgang hits a swanton, which is called the Howling. Wolfgang was really over in this match, obviously, because Wolfgang is somebody you can definitely get behind. Definitely good stuff here. Tyson T-Bone, I wish I would have seen a little bit more of him. I guess I'm going to have to learn a little bit more from him. I'm not really. He's one of the ones when I actually looked at the people that they brought in, one of the ones I didn't know. So there's always that. So we move on to our next match, and this is the match I was really looking forward to. Joseph Connors versus James Drake. Don't know James Drake at all. Michael Cole was really trying to get Joseph Connors over on commentary. Brought up the fact that Joseph Connors got pretty much left for dead in a nightclub and lost half of his ear. And that's something I didn't notice in WCPW. It's something that Adam never brought up because they never really brought any interest to it. But, I mean, that's fine. I mean, you don't really have to do that. Connors hits this really cool elbow backbreaker, which is a back elbow, and when he's falling, basically he throws the knee out and he lands on the knee. That was really nice. He hits the Righteous Kill. Apparently now we're calling it the Don't Look Down, because you can't call it Righteous Kill because that's kind of trademark. So gets the win there. Nice to see a fan in the front row was wearing a Righteous Kill shirt. So WCPW was being promoted, even though WWE was not promoting him. So basically, this sets up the fact that he will face the winner of the next match, which was Mark Andrews and Dan Maloney. Mark Andrews comes out with basically just like he did in TNA. Everything was the normal. This was decent for what it was. It was short, but it was basically to get Mark Andrews over. So Andrews basically counters a suplex into the Diamond Dust. Same thing Will Ospreay does. And he hits a shooting star off the top, gets the win. Just a short match to get the crowd really into him, which works fine. And then we get our final match of the first round. 19-year-old Tyler Bate, more Mustache Mountain. So they bookmarked the show. I thought that was really well done. Taking on Tucker. Tucker's really good. I didn't know anything about him. Know a lot about Tyler Bate. Ashley's basically put over Mustache Mountain as the second coming to me. And yes, they are. So let's talk about, we see the owners of ICW. So this match was really good for what it was. Tyler Bate brought the old school offense here with the airplane spins. I thought that was really well done. And Tucker ends up going for a swanton. Tyler gets the knees up, front kick, a forearm. Tyler Bate hits a capo kick, and the Tiger Driver 97 for the 3 count. I like this. I like this a lot. This is fun. It was a good match to get the crowd into it, and a great way to end the show for people that definitely wanted to see what Tyler Bate was capable of. Definitely was the best match of the night, for sure. Hands down the best match of the night. So after this was over, we get Nigel out there with William Regal, and they basically bring out everybody on the stage to promote the next round. And they're facing off. The next thing you know, Pete Dunne just nails Sam Gradwell, and Regal gets up in his face. And that's the last thing we see before we fade to black is William Regal just yelling at Pete Dunne. I thought that was awesome. Please tell me somehow, some way we get William Regal and Pete Dunne. I really want to see this match. Like, I know it might be impossible. But my God, I want to see this match. Please make this happen. Yeah, a decent show for what it was. I liked it. But it paled in comparison to night 2. And Scott, this is where you'll pick up the conversation here. You got to see all of night 2, or you get to see a couple matches?
I pretty much saw all of night 2. I only missed like the first 10 minutes of the show. I was like bored. I was like, I guess the UK tournament's on. I'll turn it on now.
Right.
So it's Pete Dunne versus
Sam Gradwell.
Yeah, that was the first match, right? Yeah.
Right. This was fine. Fine for what it was, done with a handshake, but he was very sarcastic about it. I thought that was really well done. Grodwell
They
fell.
they super healed him up too on commentary. They made him like the most despicable man ever.
I like what they do here too. It worked really well.
It did. It really did, because you can see it coming from a mile away, but you knew Pete was at least going to make it to the final. They
Right.
needed a strong heel, and they pulled the trigger on him early on, or at the end of the show, and made it to what it was. And it the way it happens throughout this show is crazy. It's really good at how they told the story. But go on.
Yeah, I like this a lot. So Gradwell had some shine in this match at a Michinoku driver and gunpowder to the outside. Got hit with a flying body press, and pretty much Sam Gradwell was ended with basically getting shoved off onto the ring apron. He got shoved off the ropes onto the ring apron, and he hit his back. So it looked like there was going to be a count-out win, but no, that wasn't going to be the case. Pete Dunne picked him up, hit a scoop slam in the corner, and basically just body slammed him into the turnbuckles and won the match. And after it was over, he laid out Gradwell with the bitter end. So it did what it had to do. Just basically to get over how vicious Pete Dunne is, for those that are unaware.
Yeah, and it did the job. I mean, he became the number one heel right then and there, and it really made you feel. It was like, okay, now who is he going to face next? And it was a toss up, but I was like, God, him and Mark Andrews could be really good, but which evidently happened. But
we'll get to that.
Well, that's the next match. Mark Andrews versus
Joseph Connors. Crowd was chanting, "Let's go, Mandrews." So even though WWE is not acknowledging the Mandrews nickname, obviously the crowd were. Michael Cole was really saying that Mark Andrews likes to have fun. So yeah, they need to stop that. So Connors put the heat on him for a while. Andrews ended up coming back, and he hits the suplex into the Diamond Dust again, and he hits the shooting star off the top. So Connors had good heat in this match, but Andrews winning was the right move, honestly. I thought that was well done. This was okay for what it was. The crowd were not as into Joseph Connors as they needed to be. If they were more invested into him, they probably would have bought more on the near falls, but they didn't. So, I mean, I guess that's just the story of the match. But Mark Andrews winning was the right move here. I did like the rail walk somersault senton on Connors during the match. Thought that worked really well too. Then we get the match that I'm really shocked they did what they did. So it's Wolfgang versus Trent Seven, match we've seen a billion times before.
It was a good match.
Yeah, it was. Probably the best one of the best matches on the show leading up to the main. But not the finish I thought would happen. Wolfgang ends up going for a moonsault off the barricade, and he messes his knee up. So for the rest of the tournament, he's basically selling the knee, which kudos to him there, honestly. So Trent Seven is
honestly, he didn't really sell the knee after that. He sold it right when it happened, but during the match, he only sold it maybe once or twice after it, and that was it. And Trent didn't even go after the knee, which I thought was really weird. So I wonder if it was a legit, like he jammed his knee, and it was a legit thing, and they didn't want to, or Trent just didn't go after it like a typical wrestler would.
I mean, it's possible. So
the way he landed, it looked like he just jammed it, or.
I guess we'll see. we'll see what happens in the end, because I haven't heard anything otherwise. So who knows if that's the case or not? It's possible. So Wolfgang goes for it again, but he goes for it in the ring. So basically, he goes for the BME, and which we'll talk about Chris Daniels on Wednesday. You're welcome for calling this a year ago. And Seven gets the knees up. And of course, that's not going to work really well. Trent Seven with a spinning back fist, and he goes for the Rainmaker. Again, Wolfgang kicks out, and Trent Seven goes for a pile driver off the top, and he gets knocked off. He goes for the Swanton on the lower back, and he wins. But that's not the story of the match. When the BME happens, when he gets the knees up, he goes for a German, he gets blocked, and Trent Seven nails Wolfgang with a release dragon suplex that literally folded him in half. And I'm not talking about hyperbole. I'm not talking about cliche. He literally got folded in half. It looked vicious as all get out. And kudos for him taking it. Then again, we saw what Kazuchika Okada did. So what he took on the top of his head. And that was off the top rope. So imagine this, but this was done with such a snap variety. It just was so devilish.
Yeah, and then Wolfgang also walked out of the match with a bloody nose.
I'll get to that, actually. Basically, when he got headbutted off... when he got... well, see, that's the thing, though, Scott. When he got headbutted off the top, that's what busted his nose. And you can tell, because when he got knocked off, you could see the blood somewhat when he went for the Swanton. And then when he hits it, the blood is pouring. So, yeah, this was like the brawl for all when it came to injuries in this tournament, to be honest.
Yep, I agree.
So we move forward to our next match, Tyler Bate versus Jordan Devlin. Devlin is absolutely hated. Pete Dunne is hated because of vicious things he does. Jordan Devlin is hated because he rips off Finn Balor. I honestly was waiting for a chant, "You're not Devitt," but I don't think it ever came. Some good stuff in this match. I like this. Tyler gets attacked with a bell. So a lot of stuff is worked on. He gets his airplane spin in. And Devlin finally gets some heat on him with the moonsault. He lands on his feet. It's a pump knee strike for a near fall. And he misses the moonsault this time. And the Tyler Driver 97 is countered into a Hurricane Rana for a near fall. Nice false finish there. I like that. Round kick, a punch, and he hits the straight Tyler Driver for the 3 count. Good stuff. Really good match here. Devlin was a lot better and looked a lot more protected in this match than he did in the first round. He seemed like he was more comfortable working with Tyler Bate. But, I'm sure Devlin has squared off with Danny Burks in the past. But, I'm sure Devlin and Bate have had matches. That's the reason why they were more comfortable working with each other. It seemed like it flowed better, Scott, to be honest.
It did, and it seemed like it went really quick. I don't know what the official time was on it, but it didn't seem all that long of a match.
6 minutes.
Yeah, it didn't. Yeah, that's how I felt. I was like, wow, that match went quick. Holy crap! I'm like, they're really making Tyler Bate into a big, powerful, strong little kid.
Right.
He's only freaking 19 years old.
And he's just going to get better.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, his next match, because now he's paired up with Wolfgang, is just, holy crap. Like, what?
Right. And
so,
then Yeah, I understand. So we move on to our next match. And our next match is a rematch from Bola this year with Pete Dunne against Mark Andrews. Andrews won at Bola, if you guys don't remember. Some good stuff here. Probably has my most notes of anything except for the main event. Nice run off the ring steps. Thought that was really well done. Shotgun knees in the corner, Northern Light suplex and the standing moonsault. But he continues the rotation. He basically hits a standing moonsault into a back senton for a near fall. Standing shooting star press. Dunn kicks out again. So Andrews with the triangle moonsault. He gets caught, picked up, and Dunn hits the Orange Crush on the ring apron, and then he hits it on the ramp. So Mandrews is pretty much dead, but he beats the count at 8. So he stomps him in the head, and he gets caught because apparently you can't powerbomb Billy Kidman. You can't suplex anybody working against Pete Dunne, because Mark Andrews, because when it comes down to it, you're going to get that same Will Ospreay like Diamond Dust out of the suplex. So that worked really well. So he goes up top again. He gets blocked, and then he goes for the superplex, gets countered. They trade forearms. He knocks him off. Shooting star, but Dunn gets the knees up. He goes for the bitter end, an escape by Andrews. Step up insecurity kick, and he gets caught with the Orange Crush again. Andrews reverses into a Rana. Really close near fall there, and he goes for the shooting star again. He lands on his feet. He gets German suplex into the buckle, Orange Crush, bitter end, 1, 2, 3. This was really good. Really good. Easily the best match of the night. So best match of the tournament so far, and no surprise here.
Well, I agree with that. It was a really, really good match. The highlight for me was the standing senton. Or 450, or 3, whatever the hell. I mean, when they did it in replay and seeing that his feet was like on his second rotation, that his feet was like 6 inches off the mat, and then him nailing it was just like, what? Dude, this is your third match in 24 hours, and you're still pulling shit off like this?
Right.
Wow. I mean, these guys put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in this ring over the course of 24 hours.
More ways than one.
Yes, yes. This was by far. I mean, for me, this would be the number 2 match of the whole tournament. So, well, the ones that I saw, but you pretty much sum it up as the whole tournament, because the better matches are in, and you know, when you're getting closer to the finals anyway, because now everybody's pulling every trick and flip and doohickey out, like, you know, so.
Right, but I mean, even though, like with stuff like Bola, I mean, in the G1, like, even though it's early on in the tournament, you still can get the match of the tournament in the first round sometimes. It doesn't happen often, but it has happened before.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, of course, if your name ain't been pulled to, you know, move on,
right.
You know, hell yeah, you're gonna leave it all in the ring, because I mean, I'm sure they're contracted to do this, but we don't know the true specifics of this contract and how long it's for. So they could be trying to, for a year, okay. So then they could be trying to, you know, impress. Because I mean, you got some probably producers in the back, and Triple H, and Regal. I mean, there's people back there that are looking at these matches and, you know, trying to put together future stories that could come out of this. So, you know, yeah, hell yeah. If you're first match of the night or first round, and you're not moving on, you might as well just leave it in the ring,
right,
and have a blast at it.
And that's what they did. But badly enough, Tyler Bate and Wolfgang had to follow this, and they only gave him 6 minutes. Still was a solid match, though. I like the story being told here. Wolfgang, of course, tweaked his knee with the moonsault. His nose is all messed up, so obviously he's kind of the worst for wear right now. He goes for a pump kick. He nails it. Gorilla press slam. Tyler counters into a sunset flip for a near fall. Pop-up power slam for a near fall. Wolfgang misses the howling, and still is able to spear Tyler Bate pretty much out of his boots, but only gets a near fall. And he basically counters a fireman's carry into a flapjack into the Tyler Driver 97, and when he lifts the big man, the crowd explodes, and Tyler Bate moves on to the finals. I like this really well done. And speaking of that, after the match is over, Pete Dunne comes out, jumps Tyler Bate, and throws him into the post. Thought that was really well done. I'm trying not to make that analogy, but it seems like it's working. This was good. I like this because the story here, like the untold story here, is between Pete Dunne and William Regal. And we've done this with Regal before in NXT. I would love to see Regal put the boots on and work with Pete Dunne. At least give us one match. Even like it could be the main event on the first UK taping. I think that would work really well.
first of all, the Tyler Bate lifting up, Tyler Bates Bate. Well, I don't know why they didn't put the S on it, but okay, must be English. Lifting up Wolfgang to do that Tyler driver. Holy crap!
Yeah, it looked
that
great.
Kid is only what 6 foot, maybe 6'1".
Yeah, he's very small.
And Wolfgang is 6'10", maybe.
He's huge.
He's a big guy. He reminds me of like a young Big Show when Big Show had hair. But lifting him up, holy wow! Yeah. Kudos to him. I mean, that kid is short. I mean, he's stocky. But he's brick shithouse. I mean,
right.
And he's only 19 fucking years old. That just trips my mind out. Like, wow.
I mean, he's just going to get better, too. So, I like this match. I like this match a lot. I love what they did with Pete Dunne after the match was over. Like I said, please, by all means, if you're going to give me a UK show, then give me Pete Dunne versus William Regal at least once. I want to see this match. I don't care what I have to do to see this match. This has to happen. So hopefully it will. We get Adrian Neville coming out next, and he basically isn't happy about being left off another tournament. He's like, obviously he qualifies for this, so he needs to be in it. So he's like, I should be your champion by default. He says, I'm the greatest star in the history of this continent. No man deserves to stand across from me. Enter Tommy End. Not Aleister Black. Tommy End, using his independent name that he's been going by forever. And he ends up making an official debut. I like this. I don't know if he'll probably go back to Aleister Black when he ends up going to NXT, because I know he's done shows under that name now. But the fact that he was Tommy End for this made perfect sense. Good stuff here. I like this. This match worked really well. Some good stuff in this match. It was kind of overshadowed by everything else on the card. So it kind of had a really bad spot on the show. End got a lot of round kicks. Neville powders the outside. So he played the heel for quite a while. Neville gets hit with a triangle moonsault. And middle rope round kick, gets a near fall on a German suplex. Gets caught when he goes up top with a high kick. And Neville hits the Super Rana and the Red Arrow and gets the win. This was fine. I wish Ashley was here right now, because we'd bring up the fact that Charlie Caruso was doing interviews for this, and Ashley likes to always bring up the great Caruso every week here on the network. So I'll let him talk about that on Wednesday when he gives his thoughts on the tournament.
I wonder if Vince gave her that name just in spite of Russo.
I don't know. I mean,
look at the similarities. Vince, Charlie, Caruso, Russo. I mean,
I just think you're huffing a little bit too much diesel right now. And I don't mean Kevin Nash.
Whee! Big Papa. No, I don't know. It's just Vince always comes up with some weird ass names for people.
Right, I can see where you're coming from, but
so and him and Russo never really got along, but that was the glory days of WWE, so he went with it.
Fair point. Everybody gets another name in WWE. Anyway,
this match pretty much did what it needed to do, was just fill some time in and separate and let the guys have some, especially Tyler, let him have some breathing room.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be the Owen and Scott show tonight, because if Ashley doesn't come back on, we're going to just breeze right through Raw. I'll tell you that right now. So there's not much to talk about. There's 6 matches. Anyway,
wow.
They sell the fact that they may have to forfeit because there's a separated shoulder. Partially separated shoulder on Tyler Bate, but the doctor clears him, so we're still fine. So we're going to get him in the finals, which means he's going to have mountains and mountains of tape on his arm. And of course he does.
Well, and especially when they even announced that, I was like, they're setting up the babyface in peril. It's already been set up by him getting thrown into the pole.
Exactly.
So why? I'm thinking to myself, as pretty much during Neville's match and going into the final, I'm like, it's set up. If Tyler Bates pulls this off, which I already had it in my mind, I thought he was going to anyway. I was like,
Right.
I'd like to see how they're going to throw the shoulder in, and maybe he gets some sort of superhuman John Cena strength and pulls through it and doesn't, like, his arm doesn't fall off or some shit.
I mean, honestly, if you're going to put it, okay, here's the thing, and this is the way I see it. If this is a one-off and we're not going to do this again, put it on a babyface. If this is something that's got legs that's going to go for a while, put it on a heel and let the babyface chase for a while. Because the program we're setting up here is obviously Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne in the rematch. And that makes perfect sense. And then, of course, Neville's going to want a piece of this too. So Neville's going to want to go after Tyler Bate as well because Neville wants everything. See, the thing is, when Neville wins the Cruiserweight title at the Rumble, you can always do title versus title in the UK.
Right.
And I would do that at this point and really make Tyler Bate look strong.
Oh, yeah, I definitely. And even if it goes to a draw or a no contest or something,
yeah, it'd be
the
Broadway
match would still be
sure.
powerful.
Oh, yeah. Everybody wins here, especially the fans. A quick note, if you didn't know already, Pete Dunne was partially I can't say blame, but partially to thank for the training of Tyler Bate. Good stuff in this match. This was like back and forth, left and right, and then we got to everything craziness happening. Middle rope European uppercut. Tyler hit an exploder suplex. And the bitter end, Pete Dunne finally got the advantage. It gets countered into a small package. Very Daniel Bryan-esque. I like that for a near fall. The airplane spin, a reverse airplane spin, back to the regular airplane spin, and Dunne kicks out. So he's got the triangle choke, and it gets countered. He power bombs out of it. Pete Dunne goes to the floor. Tyler Bate hits the Fosbury flop and tosses him in and hits a 450 double stomp for a near fall. I thought that was done well. It looked more like it was supposed to be a double stomp, probably came up more like a 450 knee drop. It still worked. Either way, depending on how you're looking at it. He rips out his mouth guard. It's party time. So he goes for the round kick, gets ducked, and the bitter end connects, but Bate kicks out before 3. A step over Kimura, and it gets countered, but he rolls it back into a Kimura with the body scissors. Countered back into a brainbuster, gets a near fall off of that. So Tyler fires up, and basically this is when it all ends. They trade slaps. He hits a capo kick, rolls out of the corner, hits a rolling capo kick, and that would make Jushin Thunder Liger very happy. Hits the Tyler Driver 97 and wins the tournament. Phenomenal match. Very well done. Told a great story, too.
Yeah, it did. It was really, really. It was an awesome match. I was clamoring for every near fall. Especially the brainbuster that he pulled off was amazing. Go from the Kimura lock and then switch it and then pick him straight up. This kid has raw strength. Obviously his shoulder was not, it was all kayfabe, but raw strength to pick 275 pounds up from your lap all the way up.
It was amazing.
Without that much. Yeah, and Dunne didn't even really help much. I mean, he put the arm there for support, but it was all freaking bait. That kid is good for him that he won it. I'm glad Triple H pulled the trigger on him, or Regal, or whoever. Probably Regal probably had some big hand to do with it because he probably follows England's indies a lot more than, probably, well, I wouldn't say more than Ashley, but but it did make sense. And it was a great match, and I can't wait to see what they do with this. What's going to come out of it?
See, I think nothing but great things will possibly come out of this too, especially because they put the title on somebody like Tyler Bate, someone that the UK fans can get behind, someone that you can believably get behind, even if you don't know anything about Tyler Bate at all. You don't know anything about Mustache Mountain. You don't know anything about his background. You don't know anything about that. Basically, you're judging it for just a performer in the ring. You see a 19-year-old with a ginormous mustache, and he can go, and he can go, and he can go, and he can. I hate the term throwback, but he is 100% a throwback, without a doubt. And if the world were perfect, then we'd have Mustache Mountain, and we'd have Jack Gallagher and Vaudevillains in some sort of an old-time wrestling stable. And it seems like something out of a wrestling video game, to be honest. Sounds like a SmackDown video game. Kind of reminds me of that.
Right.
United.
I don't know if you can hear me.
Thoughts not being talked over right now.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry.
Quick. Scott, are you back?
Yeah. I don't know. Something happened. I don't know. I guess not.
Scott, you still there? Scott, you still there? Scott? Nope. Okay. So technical difficulties. Thank you, Pedro. Exactly. Scott will be brought back momentarily. Ashley, you still have no idea where he is. So yeah, we had some technical issues there, but don't worry, we'll be fine. We're back. And hopefully Ashley will be talking soon. Hopefully he didn't fall asleep. Welcome back, Scott.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know what the fuck happened there.
Oh, I'll shoot with you. We had a technical issue, and like my computer just completely like blacked out on me. I don't know what happened.
Oh, so it wasn't me.
No,
I thought it was me.
It was a combination of both there.
Oh, wow.
So yeah.
When worlds collide.
Yes, technical difficulties galore. Yeah, this was a good show. Very well done. I'm really curious to see what goes with this in the future. I like at the end you had Triple H, you had Finn Balor, you had William Regal, and you had Fit Finlay putting over Tyler Bate. I thought that was really done the best it possibly could be at this point. I hate using the term "well done," especially with Pete Dunne, but still, I mean,
Trent should have been out there too, I think, because they are a tag team.
I agree, but I understand why they didn't do that.
I bet you he was waiting right on the other side of the curtain, though. But
I'm sure he was.
I'm gonna go back to the point that you made before all hell broke loose about the old faction team. Right. With the Vaudevillains, Trent and Tyler and Gallagher. I mean, totally do that. That would be awesome. I mean, heck,
extraordinary gentlemen.
Yeah, definitely. And they all wear umbrellas and wear sharp suits. That would be sweet. And top hats. Make them look like they're from from the 20s and 30s. Or even the 50s and 60s when it was kind of still around. 40s. Whatever. Anyway, this last hour of the tournament was awesome. All the tournament was great. It finally got England something that they could, or not England, the UK can root behind. And if they do move into something else like a show, it would be awesome to see, and I hope they do this for maybe another country instead of the UK. Maybe a Europe, because there's wrestling's pretty popular in Europe, or Germany. Germany's got a pretty good following in wrestling. I'd say China, but WWE just started in China. But you can see where WWE is doing. they got their own little promotion, NXT, in the U.S. So if they get these other little promotions in these other countries going, it's a huge feeder system, first of all. And second of all, it's more revenue because now people are going to, subscribe to the network to watch their show, their country show. I mean, whatever they have in long-term plans for this network, it's in the last 2 years, it's amazing of what they've done and what they continue to do.
Exactly. And I'm very happy they did this too. So it worked really well. So we move on from a show that I enjoyed talking about and a show that I enjoyed watching to Raw.
Oh, come on. You can't knock it. At least the opening segment was great. The opening video package, like WWE always does. They always have one of the most. Their editing department that creates these video packages are top notch. And what they did with the Martin Luther King, like any other time that holidays came up, they always do something awesome.
Well, here's the thing, Scott, and it's not that. It's basically our version of the LOL TNA or the Matt TNA thing that everybody brings up on Twitter all the time. I like to give Raw a lot of flack because most of the time I don't care about what's going on with WWE. I just want to get to Wednesday so I can talk about ROH, I can talk about Japan, I can talk about NXT, Go 5 Live, SmackDown, the stuff that I'd like to cover, but I can't. That's the reason why we don't have a Tuesday show. I mean, who knows? Maybe eventually we may end up having to have a Tuesday show because we're having more wrestling to talk about. But that's for another time. The thing is, I mean, Raw normally is something I'm extremely bored with.
And I agree. It's 3 hours. And usually it is long. But I understand why WWE originally had to go 3 hours. The ratings were tanking. They needed the extra money. The extra hour is pretty much all ad revenue.
Exactly.
Because if you break it down, if you break it down how they do it on Hulu, a 3-hour show is condensed into 90 minutes.
Yes, I wish we could do that. I really wish we could do that.
That's why you always watch Raw on Tuesdays. But in all honesty, the actual length of the show is 1 hour and 45 minutes. 1 hour and 15 minutes is nothing but commercials, and it really showed tonight. It did. There were some aspects of this show that was good, that progressed the storyline. Like the opening segment was hot. It was great, which we'll get into. But some of this, and the odd placement of commercials really bugs the F out of me, especially at the end of the show. Holy crap, where did that commercial came from?
Yeah, we'll get to that. Don't worry, because I know exactly what you're talking about. We'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah. So,
right.
I understand with a lot of people's sentiment about the 3-hour Raw and why people get turned off and then come back later on because that's when the good shit happens. I get it. And I'd probably do the same thing if I wasn't sitting behind a fucking driving wheel or, a steering wheel driving down the road. I don't do that. I don't watch while I drive. You don't text while you drive either. But you always see it in ride-along show on the network. It's hilarious. Anyway, but I get it, and that's why SmackDown's a lot more popular. 2 hours, they can cram everything in. It's action-packed from minute 1 to minute 159. And Raw is just...
SmackDown has its issues, too.
It does, but it has better stories.
I agree with that.
Because there ain't that many... and there's lesser-known talent on SmackDown and few top stars. So it's interesting, and it works. Why in the hell come out? I haven't watched SmackDown in a few weeks, so forgive me. Why in the hell is Carmella with Ellsworth? What?
It started. I don't want to talk about it. We'll talk about it on Wednesday. Let's talk about Raw.
I know, but I heard that on the Raw show. Wait, what? Okay, and then but it's all money, and we're just gonna have to suck it up and deal with it because nothing's gonna change. They're not gonna go back to 2 hours with Raw. It'd be scary if SmackDown ever pulls the trigger to go 3 hours, which I hope to God they don't. They need like 30 more people on that roster to do it.
They don't have the roster.
And I hate how the cruiserweights are chewing up almost 30 minutes of time on frickin' Raw.
There's no.
They have their own show.
It doesn't matter. There's no one. Basically, the cruiserweights on Raw to whet your appetite for their show. Because there's nobody. It
doesn't work.
No one's on Raw. There's no one. Like, there's probably like 15 people on Raw now because no one else is being showcased.
You get the top 15 people.
That's about it.
And the cruiserweights.
That's
and
it.
3 or 4 girls.
That's it.
Pretty much in that opening video of Raw is all that you're going to see.
For the most part, yes.
And if you go back through time and you watch the opening videos to the different eras of Raw, or each, like, every time it changes, somebody records it and then they post it, whatever. If you look through all the videos, whoever's the last one, pointing or doing something before the fireworks go off, is the main attraction. The Raw one ends with Sasha Banks. And for many, many, many years, it used to be nothing but Cena. Then it was Roman for a little bit, and now it's Sasha. So whatever they have planned with Sasha, there's more stuff to come.
Well,
I just had to say that.
You got to do something.
I pay attention a little bit. Well, yeah, obviously.
I don't think it really matters in the long run because we all know that the Sasha storyline, at this rate, it seems like it's leading to Sasha and Stephanie.
I'm game. Who wants to see Stephanie back in some tight leathers? Me.
God. So
don't give me that shit. We grew up looking at Stephanie McMahon and Lita and Trish. Big boob job that Chris pointed out, which was amazing because then every teenage kid in America went like, yes. And you didn't? What the heck were you whacking off to?
So we have wrestling to talk about, and that's the reason these shows go 4 hours. And the fact, I'll warn you ahead of time, I didn't take notes on promos, so that's Ashley's job. So this will be fun.
We'll breeze through.
Roman comes out, starts to show off, gets booed out of the building, shock, surprise. He basically talks about losing last week. Kevin Owens is going to be the one to complain at the Rumble because Jericho's locked above the ring. He can't do anything about it. No one can beat him one-on-one. So he's going to walk out with the title at the Rumble. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Here comes Paul Heyman. He's like, I'm an advocate. He basically gets drowned out with a Goldberg chance from the crowd. Goldberg's not here
And
tonight.
he lets it come.
Of course, he's Paul Heyman. Goldberg's not here. He's in Cleveland next week. Yeah, Goldberg's going to be in Cleveland. So basically, Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens come out. They're announced as the Universal and U.S. champions, both of them.
The WWE U.S. Universal Champion.
Yes. So Owens keeps the title. Jericho wins the Rumble. They both main event WrestleMania. No matter what, they remain the U.S. Universal Champion. Here comes Rollins. Rollins comes out. He gets cut off by Ogre. Yay, Braun Strowman. Here comes Brock Lesnar. And thankfully, Sami Zayn, because he has to be in this conversation, because we're not going to be the only ones to bring him up before he wins the Rumble, jumps on Braun Strowman's back.
Spoiler.
And we start fighting. Brock comes in. I think it's hilarious because the recap I'm reading, it said Brock German's Brock. That's funny.
So Brock German's Roman. And then does Sammy.
Right. So we left with Brock and Sammy. So Sammy
Which the crowd goes nuts for.
Well, yeah, because it's Sami Zayn, and the crowd needs to realize Vince needs to realize that there is money to be made with Sami Zayn as the next Daniel Bryan. Because I've been saying this for a year now. It's nice to see they're finally paying attention to me. So Brock stands in the ring. Braun goes to get in the ring, and he basically stares Brock down. And he's like, nope. And then Roman ends up hitting the Superman punch on Brock. Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho get knocked off the apron. Roman turns into the F5, and Roman's laid out. So Brock reigns supreme. This is a good opening. I like this.
It was really hot and really well done. It got all the aspects of the main matches that are on the card for Royal Rumble. I mean, the Universal title match, which going into that first, the reason why they had Chris Jericho win the U.S. title is because that title is going to come in hand. He's going to wear it to the ring and go above in the cage with the title.
Probably.
Duh. That match is going to end with Owen getting the title and then using it. Might not use it successfully, but yeah, he's going to retain it. But I think Owens might bite the U.S. title, and kick out of it, or the title's going to be used. Then you got the Royal Rumble participants: Jericho, Braun, Brock. And then you just got Sami Zayn because he's still got a chip on his shoulder for Braun.
So this made everybody
well done and made it really hot.
It made it look good. I still don't care about Braun Strowman, but at least they're trying. I'll give them that.
Dude's huge.
I don't care. And I know he's a nice guy from what I've heard, but still.
Just saying he's huge. Care. I don't care about him either, but they need more powerful people like that. But
no, they don't. I don't care about big guys. This is the 80s. Here's the thing. Just
because you're not a big guy.
This isn't the WWF of the day when Vince McMahon let big 6'8" guys rule the earth. This is the land of like people that are under 6 foot tall.
Nah, I'd say under 6'3".
Like you don't have to be 6'8" and beach blonde in order to get over brother.
I don't think Braun's ever going to win a title.
I don't know at this point. They're really intent on pushing him.
Even if they are, it doesn't mean he's going to win.
Doesn't mean he's going to lose either. I guess we'll have to see. I mean, a lot of people were never thinking Bray Wyatt was ever going to win a championship, and even though it got taken from him immediately, he still did win one, so there's that.
But Bray Wyatt ain't a big guy.
Yes, he is.
What are you getting at?
Bray Wyatt's
he's
a big
fat.
Guy. He's still a big guy, though. He's a big guy in size.
But look at, he ain't, okay, Daniel Bryan's 5'11" or 10. He ain't much taller than Daniel Bryan. He's 6'3", maybe.
Right.
Cena's 6'3". Strowman's 6 foot. Who fuck knows? He's huge.
Probably 6'8". I was in the opposite end of the park when he was there with Bray Wyatt. But
no, he's bigger. He's way bigger than Big Cat. Or he's a little bit taller than Big Cass. And Big Cass is 6'10".
There's a reason.
6'8".
There's a reason why they don't put them face to face yet. Is because we can't reveal that Braun is bigger or Cass is bigger, and they can't reveal that because there's money to be made if they really want to. And that's funny.
Oh, yeah.
We're rolling right into Cass because if he has the first match of the night, it's Enzo and Cass versus Rusev and Jinder Mahal. I don't care what the storyline at all.
No.
I noticed that they didn't use the East River Crossing this time around. Maybe he realized that he screwed up so bad he needs to stop. He hits a basic body slam, the Empire Elbow, which looked kind of shaky. Rusev breaks up the pin. So basically, Rusev ends up getting sent over the top, courtesy of the low bridge from Enzo. And Big Cass boots him off the apron. Jinder goes for a roll-up, tries to steal it. Jinder gets the big boot. Enzo tagged in. NBA Jam 1, 2, 3. I don't care. I legitimately don't care. this doesn't matter. I will say right now that when I'm talking to Ashley, because we basically watch Raw. Like, he's in the UK, I'm here, but obviously we're watching Raw at the same time. Well, one of the things that we do is we're watching the show, and I don't listen to Raw whenever it's on because I have to take notes, and I'm talking to Ashley at the same time. So I leave the SAP on my television. So the line is obviously the sing along with Enzo line. According to the SAP, his name is Big Dad. He's 7 foot tall, and you can't beat that.
So you mean closed captioning?
Yes. He is now Big Dad, not Big Cass. He is now Big Dad.
That's all typed in real time. So good job, closed caption person. You totally dropped that ball.
We see Lita,
but this is just all holding pattern for Enzo and Cass.
Right.
I seriously think that they're going to be in the title hunt come WrestleMania.
I hope not.
And why?
I don't want them to win the titles. I understand. I get they're over. That's fine. I get that completely. The Raw tag team division is so stagnant right now. Oh my god, it's terrible.
It is.
Okay, Pedro in chat says, I wonder if WWE is going to put the title on Rollins and sometimes the U.S. title. It's possible. I mean, Andre Memorial, we'll see what happens with that. Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if Hogan doesn't win the Andre Memorial this year, to be totally honest. It'd be a really good thing to do.
Right, yeah.
Or you give it to like somebody from NXT. I'd say give it to Samoa Joe, but it sounds like he's got bigger fish to fry at WrestleMania, but we'll talk about that Wednesday. And the New Day they're still over, but it's getting older as well. They really need to start like freshening up these babyface acts because there's a problem with that. I think that Gallows and Anderson are the ones that really suffer because they're the ones that are treated because they were world beaters when they came in and now they're a comedy act and that's a joke. I hate that.
Right.
They need to be treated better. We'll get to that in a little bit, but still.
But I still think. That's just my opinion. I think Enzo and Cass are going to win the titles at WrestleMania or soon after.
Oh no, I do too. But I don't want that to happen because when they win, there's really not much you can do after that.
No, there isn't. And obviously there's bigger plans for Cass.
Yeah,
because that's Vince's all idea. But
right. Say what you want about
Enzo. Enzo could be a freaking really good. I think he would be a crazy freaking world champion if you ask me.
Enzo's a valet. That's all Enzo will be. He's a valet or a tag partner. You can't take him seriously as anything more than that, unless you put him in the cruiserweight division, which would work. But wrestling-wise, Cass is obviously the money. But the thing is, Cass can't talk very well. So you need Enzo to be his mouthpiece, regardless. So, it's a catch-22 because if you split them up, which I thought they were going to do at one point, if you split them up, then you're going to have somebody who can't talk as the guy you want to get over. Someone who can talk is the guy that they don't care about enough to do anything with, other than just make him warm the apron and tag him.
They could if they repackage Enzo. Enzo could technically be, if they wanted to go that way, even though they're going that way with Sami Zayn. But in the future, they could because of Enzo's, charisma. I think he already is over right now. But imagine if he, got rid of the goofy hair and his shtick. He could really become something.
But that stuff
for being as small as the guy that he is. Well, I know, but
if you're small in wrestling, you either have to talk, have to work, or you have to be able to get yourself over another way. And obviously, he can talk. He's not that great in the ring, and he never has been, but he doesn't have to be.
No.
He gets the hot tag, he gets the rocket launcher, and that's basically the end of it. He gets a little shine in the match, but basically plays Ricky Morton for most of the match. But I mean, the thing about it is just there's money to be made with them winning the titles. But the thing is, you got to take the straps off of them, and who's their challengers? I mean, you can turn the New Day heel.
I mean, that's when you. I wouldn't say New Day. That would be the opportune time to have Anderson and Gallows take them.
They need to have already won them. That's the problem. They should have already been champions.
They should have won them tonight.
They ruined it. Well, we'll get to that. Don't worry. Very soon, actually. So basically, we get Jack Gallagher at the commentary table, which also brings out Austin Aries, because I swear to you, and I said this to Ashley, when it comes down to it, I really think they do these cruiserweight matches just so they can get Byron Saxton off commentary and get Austin Aries on commentary. And I am okay with that. So hopefully we'll have another issue. It sounds like we might. So Arya Daivari takes on Lince Dorado in the next match. Very short. I mean, very short match. Decent for what it was, though. So basically, at one point, Dorado ends up hitting the lethal injection, which he's been using a lot lately. I've noticed that. And he gets a near fall off of it, and a middle rope missile drop kick. He misses the flying body press. Daivari hits his version of the Rainmaker, and he locks on a Cobra Clutch. It turns into a grounded Cobra Clutch, and he gets the submission. I like this because it's not a stereotypical camel clutch, which is what a lot of the wrestlers that have used any sort of a Middle Eastern gimmick in the past have been brought up with. It's actually something that works really well for me because it's a Cobra Clutch, which is hilarious. That's what Sergeant Slaughter used to use back in the day. And of course, he was all American all the way, unless it was 1991. That's another story. Yeah, exactly, Pedro. You're right. When it comes down to it, when you talk about Enzo, he is the modern day Road Dogg on the mic. I agree with that. And you could really have a lot of comparisons to Big Cass and Enzo and the New Age Outlaws, especially the fact that Brian James, God love him, he's not extremely great in the ring, but he's serviceable and he can bring in decent matches. And Cass obviously got the Billy Gunn thing going on for him. He basically is just there. It's funny you really bring that up. It's hilarious you say that because and we have to do this thing along with Enzo, which is basically everything that we're, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Degeneration X proudly presents the WWE Tag Team Champions of the World, stuff like that. And then what does Enzo do? He gives the mic to Cass, which of course he give it down to Billy Gunn. And if you ain't down with that, we got two words for you. And of course the SAWFT. So yeah, there's a lot of correlation between the Outlaws and Enzo and Cass. Now I think about it, Pedro, thank you for bringing that up. It makes perfect sense. And Scott has disappeared, so I'm now on my own. So we'll see how long this lasts. So yeah, this was good for what it was. It was just a short TV match. Like I said, I think they just like having Austin Aries on commentary, and they'll do anything to make it happen. Don't know what this big obsession with everybody doing the Rainmaker now. Okada, you brought something into this world. So this was fine. I like this grounded Cobra Clutch. I think it's really cool. It's something I really don't think I've seen before. And if I have seen it, it's not something I see all the time. So we get this footage where Sasha Banks is running the ropes and getting evaluated by the medical team to whether she's going to be able to be cleared to compete again. And then the next thing you know, Nia Jax attacks her in her gear and basically beats her down. So it's interesting. It's interesting they did this. Once again, I don't much care for Nia Jax. I never have. But, I mean, again, just like with Braun Strowman, I may not care about them, but they're doing their best to try to get them over. So I know that we're getting Bayley, Sasha, Charlotte, and Nia Jax at Mania, and I got to just deal with it. So, but it's going to be Bayley's big moment, so it's going to be okay in the end. But it still was fine for what it was. I mean, it was serviceable, and it worked for me in the long run. So we get our next match. And this leads to the WWE Tag Team title match, which is Cesaro and Sheamus defending against the Good Brothers. I like this match a lot. Good stuff here. Really good stuff in this match. I like what they did in this match, too. Gallows gets caught with the clubbing blows. How ironic. Luke with a round kick. Sends to Sheamus to the outside to get a commercial break. We come back, an avalanche, and Carl Anderson gets tagged in 3DB for a near fall. Sheamus sits an over the shoulder power slam, hot tag Cesaro. He goes to swing, Carl Anderson gets stopped, big drop kick, drop toe hold, and basically Cesaro hits the Tiger Fate kick. And I think I got to figure out what it is. Lucerne, Switzerland is, I think I said what their area code is before. I gotta see if I can remember it. Switzerland area code. Yes, since I do this live. Yes, we're live. I guess it's the 41, the 4-1, I guess, because that's Lucerne, Switzerland area code. The Tiger Feint kick is basically what it is. And it's funny, he just kind of shrugs his shoulders and hits it, like you know what's gonna happen. Flying body press to Gallows. Tope gets caught, Swiss uppercut, and springboard Swiss uppercut for a near fall. And the swing shooter, Gallows stops with a super kick, gets a near fall off of that. They trade European uppercut, Cesaro with a boot. Anderson's a spine buster, and Sheamus makes a save. Sheamus is a forearm, and next thing you know, he ends up forearming the ref accidentally. So Sheamus hits Carl Anderson, then he hits the ref. So basically, he was all hyped up, so he hits the ref again. And at this point, Sheamus gets posted. They hit the Magic Killer on Cesaro. A second ref runs down. 1, 2, 3. We got new champions. Dusty finish. And the Good Brothers get the titles taken away because John Cone comes out and says, no, match is a DQ. Winners of the Good Brothers by disqualification. And then they hit the Magic Killer on Sheamus for good measure. This was fine. I like this. These four have really good chemistry in the ring. So I'm really curious to see if this will continue. I'm sure it will. Like I said, I'm doing the show by myself, so my apologies to everyone who was expecting Ashley tonight. He's just didn't show up. I guess one of those things might have been a technical issue, probably was. So we'll have him on Wednesday. So yeah, it was good stuff. I like this match. I like the way they did this, and I think what they're going to do, they're building this up, and because of this, the Good Brothers are probably going to get the rematch of the Rumble. And possibly could win the titles of the Rumble. I guess it just kind of depends unless they pull the trigger on it Fastlane or Mania. But I think it makes more sense to have a babyface team win at WrestleMania, like Scott was alluding to earlier, having Enzo and Cass win. But maybe having the Good Brothers win, and then they defend at Fastlane, and then they drop to Enzo and Cass at the Rumble. I mean, at WrestleMania. That makes sense. I can see that. I get a video of Rock beating people up, so that's always fun. So I do want to talk a little bit, since we got a really great video package about Superfly Jimmy Snuka. So an interesting thing about this show was we weren't sure what they were going to say about Jimmy Snuka here, because obviously there's a big black cloud over Jimmy Snuka when it comes to his personal life, which I don't want to talk about here, obviously, because we're going to pay him tribute to James Rayer. And obviously, I want to tell my my Jimmy Snuka story. Obviously, everybody knows Jimmy Snuka for obviously diving off the top of the cage in Madison Square Garden against Don Morocco. Mick Foley basically said that pretty much got him into the professional wrestling business in the same place. And the fact that Jimmy Snuka was the first person that The Undertaker faced, and right back at WrestleMania 7. And Snuka's done so much. Obviously, the first main event at WrestleMania being in the corner of Hulk Hogan and Mr. T. So yeah, he's done a lot in the wrestling business. Even being a part of ECW, was the first ever ECW champion back when it was Eastern Championship Wrestling. And the feud with the Metal Maniac that I'm pretty sure has lasted 4,000 years. But the funny thing about it is I have a Jimmy Snuka story, and I want to tell it real quick. For those of you that probably are either unaware or need to be re-given a little mention here, I used to work in the wrestling business, used to be in the independent wrestling business, and I've done everything. I've worn all the hats. I've booked, I've wrestled, I've ring announced, I've set up rings, I've torn rings down, I've been a manager, I've been a commentator, I've been a ring announcer, I've ran music, I rang the bell. I mean, I've done everything. So basically, what I'm trying to say is, when it comes down to it, I've done a lot of shows, and we actually did a spot show in Pennsylvania. And yeah, the Piper's Pit with Jimmy Snuka getting hit with a coconut. I thought that was amazing, leading up to the WrestleMania match. But yeah, I did an indie show in Pennsylvania, and I managed the match. And after the match was over, the camera bag, because the person I was managing, we basically had the match filmed for posterity, obviously, and basically the fact that we just had to film the match to see how things were going. Well, when that happened, I thought it was really interesting because the camera bag disappeared. And it disappeared, and when it disappeared, we forever and a day always made the reference that Jimmy Snuka stole our camera bag, and it was always the inside joke and everything. And I met Superfly that night. He was super nice and everything. But yeah, it wasn't disrespectful. It was just something that was really funny, and I always hold that somewhat dear. So yeah, I thought that was really cool that I had that weird moment with Superfly. So yeah, WWE gave tribute by putting him in the Hall of Fame many years ago, and this brilliant video package. So here on the Popcast Network, we would like to send our condolences to the Raher family in this time right now, and pay tribute and homage to the late Superfly Jimmy Snuka. So.
Rest in peace, Snooki.
Yeah, I really tried not to be political in this. There's so much we could go into, but yeah, this is not the time. Maybe another time later on, but not right now. So we get Sami Zayn in the back with the Shield, and he's basically like trying to hype everybody up. He's like, Braun Strowman's the big man. It's like, you need to focus on him. And it's like, we need to start some smoke screens, and Roman's going to do some cleanup. And Seth's like, you know what? I love the enthusiasm, but we kind of got this. We've done this before. So Sammy throws his fist out, and Seth kind of rolls his eyes, and Roman calls him crazy. Yeah, this was kind of there. Kind of funny.
I got a kick out of it.
It was fine. It was fine for what it was. We get Tony Nese versus Rich Swann, and this match never happens, really, because Neville comes out and attacks Swann, beats him down, and then it's funny because Tony Nese starts to attack, and Neville's like, no, I'm the only one that can beat him up, so he throws him aside, and the next thing you know, he throws Nese over the top rope and starts beating him up again, and then he kicks him right in the face, and this was fine for what it was. I basically hit an Avada Kedavra on him. So, not the same way that Rollins throws it, but pretty much a grounded sidekick. So, yeah, that was the best way to put it. This was okay. Hype spot. That's pretty much all it was. Building up to Swann and Neville at the Rumble, which is okay. Don't know why you needed to do it on Raw, but I mean, I could have done this on 205, but I guess not. New Day segment. They come out, talk about the Rumble. Kofi talks about Goldberg and Lesnar and Braun. Says the card's stacked. They cheer for The Undertaker. They said it's more important than we got the New Day. They said it's going to be foe versus foe and friend versus friend. Means every man for himself. And then Kofi starts getting all excited. Next thing you know, Big E's like, if one of them wins the Rumble, then all of them wins the Rumble. And then they'll all get a WrestleMania and all become the Universal Champion. Yes. No, here comes Titus O'Neil. Okay. He's like, I'm not out for bootios. I need booty business. He's like, I don't even want to be in the New Day anymore. He's like, you know what? I'm going to replace the New Day. And I almost thought for a second Titus was going to bring out a couple other guys to team with him, and he'd create his own New Day. So we get like a Midnight Express angle with like new Midnight Express versus old Midnight Express, and do like New Day versus old Day, I guess you would say in this case. You know what? Honestly, if WWE were thinking, Scott, what a good thing I would have done was have Titus come out and set up a New Day and have Crime Time come out of the crowd and attack Kofi and Big E and leave them laying. I think that would have worked. And Scott docked again. I think that would have worked quite well, especially because they were talking about JTG and Shad rejoining the company. So I thought that was really an interesting idea. So yeah, I think it'd be pretty cool. I don't know, Pedro, if you agree or not, but Prime Time and Titus as the New Day against Kofi, Big E, and Xavier Woods, I think that would work quite well. And I think it'd be a really good program. So WWE, get on that, sign Prime Time and get them into the storyline, because I think you can't beat them, join them. So, and you can't join them, create a new version. I think it'd work really well, honestly. Yeah, new Crime Time against the New Day. I think they totally can pull that off. Especially because if you really look at it, what the New Day do now, like Hawk merchandise and everything is what Crime Time used to do back in the day on SmackDown. So it makes perfect sense to me. So yeah, I think that would actually work. But anyway, my armchair booking aside now, he basically is like, you know what? Titus is he wants to spot in the Rumble. And he's going to face someone in the ring. And if he wins, he gets a spot in the Rumble. If he loses, no one's ever going to talk about Titus O'Neil around the New Day ever again. Kofi gets a line that probably would be a lot funnier if I knew anything about sports, that if Titus knew the proper time to call a huddle, he'd probably still be playing football. Ouch. So Big E accepts, and he basically says no more calls, no more texts, no more DMs, no more showing up at their porch with a fake mustache and a pizza box with a hole in the bottom. Don't know why. He calls Big E Thickums, and he says Titus rocks, and of course they're chanting Titus sucks. This is bad. Don't like this at all. This leads to Big E versus Titus. Nothing in this match. Titus goes for a Dominator. Looked amazing, and he showed his amazing strength here. And he slams him down, gets a near fall, and he basically locks on a chin lock. Big E counters, and Titus gets a power slam. Titus runs down Kofi and Xavier on the outside, and he hits the big leg drop off the ropes for a near fall, locks on the abdominal stretch, and just like Big E did in the match, obviously he slaps the behind. And when he was doing that, he was doing it to Big E, and then he pretty much gets shoved off to the ropes. Big E ends up countering with a clothesline, ducks Titus line, belly-to-belly suplex. Big E with the ravishing recruit hip gyration, hits the big splash. Big ending, 1, 2, 3. Match over. Nothing more you really can say about this match at all, really. Scott's having issue with service, so it might just be the Owen show tonight. So yay! It's always fun when I'm doing a show by myself. It was okay. It did what it had to do. So Charlotte comes out. This is like basically to put over how to be a champion, I guess. She said I'm genetically superior. She got her success because she studied her opponents, and she studied Bayley, and then she's like she's average, and then she's an average fan, and we see pictures of Bayley with Cena, and Bayley with Rob Van Dam, and Bayley with Bret Hart, and then talks about Bayley's love for poetry and posting her shoot name where everybody can see it on the internet. And Charlotte basically starts reading a poem and saying, when you were writing in a notebook, I was winning titles. And then she tries to read one of the poems. She can't. And here comes, finally, Bayley to put an end to this. And then this finally goes too far, and then she basically is like, you know what, I didn't have a father open the door for me to get into business. My father took me to every single WWE show in San Jose, and even if he didn't have the money, he still bought me a ticket. It didn't matter if I was in the back corner, the front row, or all the way up in the high where everybody looked like an ant. And Charlotte basically said, that's pretty touching, babe. Like, you know what, since you like the poem so much, I have a new one. Roses are red, violets are blue. At the Royal Rumble, I will defeat you. That's one step from being one of those, like, I choose you. The joke from The Simpsons. And yeah, that's pretty lame. This made Bayley look lame. I don't know why. Yeah, I can't help but smile from cheek to cheek just at the thought of look on her face when I break your pay-per-view streak. And the crowd was even booing this too. So they were like, yeah, they were really getting on her. And because it was terrible. And if you called me a child and say you don't deserve to walk down that ramp, for 2 weeks you called me your new women's champ. And I'm like, this did nothing to get the crowd into Bayley. They were like, please stop. Please stop with this horrible one-liners. That, I mean, you have television writers on your staff. Use them properly, because this stuff sucks. Hated every second of this. We get a short TV match, Brian Kendrick and Cedric Alexander. The further that Alicia Fox is away from this, the better off life will be. So Cedric hits a very awkward-looking Arabian press that basically just kicks him right in the head. So Kendrick gets some heat here. He has a side grounded full Nelson attempt, but it gets countered. And Cedric finally gets the shine back. High kick, springboard clothesline, and he's going for the lumbar check, but he gets irate. and then he countered into the captain's hook. Foxy runs out and pulls the rope closer so Cedric can get the rope break, and Kendrick gets a wrecking ball drop kick right in front of Foxy, and Kendrick tosses him in, gets countered, lumbar check, 1, 2, 3. I think it's funny because Kendrick told her to beat it, toots, and made me laugh. Says, I don't want anybody right now, so okay. I like the fact that we had another Cedric Alexander match on television. That's about it. Noam Dar was not seen during this match. I don't know why they did this. It was a good match, but that was it. That's all I can say about it, which is fine. Sometimes it's just got to be a good match. We get Nia Jax in the back. She's talking about what she did to Sasha Banks. Like, we don't know why you're still being called the boss. You're a wannabe tough girl. The second you step in the ring with a real woman, it was over in a matter of seconds. The aura is gone. People will see the truth. She saw it in her eyes. Knowing the hype was over, she broke the boss, and now the people are buzzing about the right woman. And all night long, the interviewer this night was not Dasha Dancer Blitzen, as Ashley would say, or the great Caruso. Oh no, this was good friend of the Popcast Network, Mike Rome, and his first time on television, being acknowledged and not being in the background. I mean, I guess, like I said before, you might as well call Mike Rome a jack of all trades. And then you get Alicia Fox in the back, wanting to know, talking to Mike, and basically Mike asks if the honeymoon's over, if the couple is broken apart. Foxy's like, I don't want to talk about it. We had a little disagreement, Cedric and I, but then next thing you know, Foxy just snaps on him and says, I don't want to talk about it, yells at him. Like I said, I mean, I don't know if you know anything about Mike Rome's past, but I guess you can say sometimes he can be a Grinch himself and also really knows how to take a chance with crazy women. So I think he wouldn't have a problem handling Alicia Fox, to say the least. Pedro saying in chat, it's like the writers were willing to fix this before it's too late. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, it's pretty much, they shifted the storyline to Neville at this point, and they pretty much ended the Kendrick TJP storyline because it wasn't getting over with the crowd like they wanted it to. So yeah. And Pedro, I know you enjoyed those lines a minute ago. So there, that was for you and everybody listening that pays attention. And like I said, big shout out to Mike Rome for knocking it out of the park tonight. Did a really great job. As always, couldn't happen to a better guy. We get our first inductee in the 2017 Hall of Fame. It's been announced. It is the Olympic gold medalist, Kurt Angle. So yeah, Kurt Angle is making his return to WWE, which is the reason why he cut all his ties with every indie promotion. He told all his promoters. He's doing the cage match with Cody for Northeast Wrestling. He's doing the What Culture Pro Wrestling match against Alberto El Patron. And that's it. Then he's going to WWE. And apparently that's what's going to happen. So possibly going to get Kurt Angle at WrestleMania. Hopefully I get to see Kurt Angle live at WrestleMania. I will see Kurt Angle live at WrestleMania, but hopefully we can see him work at WrestleMania. A lot of people can work with. Obviously, he's got match with Brock, which still needs to be resolved. Then you have the match with Cena, which, of course, is where John Cena started, the match with Kurt Angle. So, I mean, that's a possibility, too. I mean, I want to see Kurt Angle work with a lot of people. I mean, there's a lot of people I'd like to see him work with. So hopefully we'll get a Kurt Angle match out of this, even if it's just one more, just to get a nice little swan song, other than the fact that he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. And even though we talked about it on Wednesday, Kurt Angle will join the prospective list of the Hall of Fame participants, being Diamond Dallas Page, Ravishing Rick Rude, Christian, William Regal, Mike Rotunda, the former IRS, obviously the dad of Bray Wyatt and Bo Dallas, and Earthquake and Typhoon, the natural disasters, which actually would probably belittle me if I didn't say this. Yes, the Shockmaster is going in the WWE Hall of Fame. And just announced earlier today, even though none of this has been confirmed by WWE yet, the women's inductee this year is going to be Beth Phoenix. That's pretty awesome that they're going to do that. So, yeah. Yeah, Pedro says, I yell, LOL, I agree, Mike Rim, ladies man. Yeah, I think Kurt Angle would do really well, especially if he works with American Alpha. And I think there was money to be made a long time ago with Kurt Angle being like the coach of American Alpha. And I think that actually would have continued to work if they really wanted to do that, have him be like their life coach and everything. Not like the Bob Backlund thing they're doing with Darren Young, which reminds me, Apparently, Darren Young worked with Epico on main event, and there are reports coming from the building that he landed on the apron wrong, and it sounds like he injured his arm. So they stopped the match, and we don't have any confirmation of what happened to Darren Young, but we wish him the best, and hopefully he gets better sooner rather than later. Freak incidents like this happen all the time. Don't forget Zack Ryder did his own move, and freak accident took him out of competition. He's going to be back way into the summer, which sucks. I don't see him at Mania, but I'll see him at Horror Nights, so it doesn't matter. The thing is, I mean, I understand where this is going, so yeah, let's hope Darren gets better. I'm very happy Kurt Angle got brought in because he totally deserves this. So main event time, and yeah, this is what happens at Fast Show when I'm by myself. So main event: Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho, and Braun Strowman taking on Sami Zayn and The Shield. I like this a lot. This is a very good six-man tag that would harken us back to the old days of Raw, and it made me feel not necessarily like a TV main event, not necessarily like a house show main event. It made me feel like something that actually felt like it belonged, and it really did. I actually like this quite a bit. Yeah, another thing, Pedro, it's funny with Kurt Angle bringing up the TNA stuff. Like Scott mentioned earlier tonight, talking about the actual video library of TNA, like being able to like do what they did with Christian, and obviously be able to let him be inducted into the TNA Hall of Fame. So, and bring Ric Flair onto the WWE in order to be able to reverse that. I'd like to see more of the TNA stuff from Angle and Styles and Samoa Joe and all the other superstars that have gone through TNA. Bobby Roode, obviously, Eric Young, a lot of people from TNA that have done a lot of things. Like when it comes down to it, if you really look at the NXT roster, like there's a lot of TNA in that roster. So yeah, be curious to see where we go with this. And who inducts Kurt Angle, to be honest. I think it should be interesting to see who ends up inducting him. But we'll talk about that later. Main event time, like I said before, good stuff here. Match actually went to a very awkward commercial break, which Scott was talking about. Heat on Reigns, hot tag Sami Zayn comes in, and it's a backbreaker, standing moonsault for a near fall. Owens tags in, locks on a chin lock, 10:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sami fights out of it. Owens hits an enziguri kick, Owens style. How appropriate. Gets a near fall off of that. Tags Jericho. Backdrop suplex on Sami for a near fall. Whip in and running clothesline in the corner. He goes for the crown, gets stopped by Sami, doubles him over, and tag to Owens. Cuts off the tag and hits a short arm clothesline. Senton, but Sami gets the knees up. Roman gets the tag. Crowd goes mild. Right hands, ducks the clothesline, leaping clothesline, repeating clotheslines in the corner, punches Jericho when he tries to interfere, ducks the clothesline, big boot by Roman Reigns. Jericho grabs the boot when he's setting up the Superman punch, and Rollins takes Jericho out, and Braun ends up tossing Seth into the barricade. Superman punch is caught by the Goozle from Braun, turned into the super kick from Owens, 1-2, and the kick out. Braun tagged in, and then we go to commercial break. We go to commercial break after a tag. It was very bizarre, to say the least. But I continue. So 10:58, Owens is like chin lock back into it. So Roman fights out of it, ends up hitting Samoan drop. Tag in Seth Rollins, comes in with a House of Fire, Sling Blade, 2 running forearms in the corner, hits the flying guillotine off the middle turnbuckle, ducks the clothesline. Sami Zayn tosses Kevin Owens over. Seth with Tope Suicida on Chris Jericho, and same with the Tope Con Hilo on Kevin Owens. At the same time, Braun ends up going hard into the ring post. That looked awesome, by the way. Seth hits a springboard knee strike, gets a near fall, goes for the pedigree, gets counter, backdrop, lands on his feet, tag into Braun Strowman. Seth with a clothesline, trying to knock Braun off his feet. Braun with a goozle, and Sami stops that. Braun gets taken down. Seth goes for a pedigree, gets countered, and Seth dives onto Jericho and Owens on the outside. Same with a flying body press on Braun Strowman, presses him off at 2.5. So he charges in with a clothesline, and that cuts off the haluva kick attempt. Braun with a running power slam, 1, 2, 3, and Braun Strowman wins the match for his team. After this is over, Braun picks up Sami Zayn, carries him to the announce table. Looks like he's about to do some damage, and the next thing you know, feels like we went to the Attitude Era again, because we got a really hot finish to the show with Seth Rollins coming in with a chair, hitting Braun Strowman, and Roman spears Braun. Kudos to Braun for taking that vicious spear on the ramp. That looked awesome. I really props to him, straight up. I can't say that enough. Jericho and Owens attack Roman and Seth, and then Seth stops Owens, and then Jericho gets pedigreed on the ramp, and then Jericho with a chair shot to Rollins in the ribs and in the back, and then he hits Roman over and over again. Kevin Owens ends up saying, "Remember Battleground," and he power bombs Roman Reigns to the announce table. The crowds are chanting, "Yes, yes, yes." We go home with Roman down and out, Kevin Owens standing atop of him, and the crowd chanting yes, with their heel Universal Champion over their top baby face, as I say that in quote marks. Hot ending the show. I enjoyed this greatly. I thought this was a very great way to end the show, and really hyped up the show from beginning to end. And everybody really got to shine on this show. And I didn't hate the show, but I thought it was really well done, actually, this time around. Normally, I really am blah about Raw, but tonight, I actually was really into it. It actually worked really well for me. So, yeah, the 2-week build of the Royal Rumble has begun. And, of course, after the Rumble, we can move on to the build for WrestleMania 33. And I'm super excited about that. Triple H was in the back tonight. It was shown getting on a plane after the UK tournament, and obviously he's being left off television on purpose because I have a feeling he's going to cost Rollins the Rumble, which makes perfect sense. Rollins gets a nice run, and then Triple H comes in and costs him the Rumble. That leads their match at Mania. It pretty much writes itself. So Pedro says Angle has definitely a lot to work with, the guys he's familiar with. And, yeah, the finish of the match, really hot, worked really well, and everybody involved really knocked it out of the park here. Yeah, exactly. Owens, Jericho had been made to look like buffoons quite a bit in this storyline. So it was nice to see the heels finally get one over on the faces this time around. I like that a lot. Hopefully that doesn't make me think that Owens is dropping the title at the Rumble, which I don't think is happening, especially because the seeds were planted tonight that Sami Zayn is actually in the running for winning the Rumble. And I know a lot of people would be shocked by that, but people that listen to this network probably wouldn't be, because we've been talking about it for a year now. So I think that there's a possibility it could happen. Then again, we mentioned it before, that there's been a lot of rumors talking about Goldberg and Lesnar at Mania for the Universal titles. So the only thing I can think of is Owens retains, and then Goldberg wins some sort of multi-man match. Like they do a setup, obviously we do Elimination Chamber for SmackDown, but let's say Fastlane is some sort of a multi-man match. Goldberg wins, and then Goldberg and Lesnar for the title at Mania. So then you can free up everything to work together, and then you can have the winner of the Rumble, no matter who it is, they can have their match. But I mean, there's a lot of ways you can look at it. I guess you'll have to see where we're going in the next couple of weeks. We still have to flesh out the Rumble card, still have to figure out who all is going to be in the 30-man Rumble this year. And what we're going to do on SmackDown, we're talking about that tomorrow night at 9 p.m. We're going to get Becky Lynch versus Alexa Bliss for the SmackDown Women's Championship. I think that this is going to be the reveal of La Luchadora as Mickie James. I think she's going to help Alexa Bliss win. And then it's going to be kind of like what happened with Sting and the Black Scorpion at Starrcade 90, because we were about ready to go home. Everything was getting ready to end. The pay-per-view was cutting off. And then all of a sudden, Sting ripped off that last mask because he had the white mask. And then Sting rips off the mask. It's Ric Flair. And I think that's what we're going to do here. I think that you have La Luchadora and Alexa Bliss attack Becky after the match is over, because Alexa wins via chicanery. And after this is over, Becky fights him off, gets rid of Alexa momentarily. And the next thing you know, she finally gets La Luchadora where she wants her. She rips the mask off. It's Mickie James, and then we get that storyline leads into WrestleMania. So yeah, 3-way, probably Elimination Chamber. I think that could possibly happen. But yeah, my apologies for my sinuses tonight too, and all the technical issues we've had tonight. Well, the fact that basically I've done the show by myself for the most part, given the fact that Scott's had a lot of issues. Ashley never came on tonight because apparently he's having some serious technical issues tonight. So hopefully nothing's wrong with that. Peter says, yeah, it has to happen. It would make up for Bryan not winning it, and we can't forget about Undertaker possibly face too. I think the Undertaker is actually possibly facing Roman Reigns. Weirdly enough, I think Roman and Undertaker for the U.S. title was an idea I had. Taker could face Kurt Angle at this point, honestly. Taker and Cena is off the table. Maybe they'll do it next year, possibly. Taker and Angle would be fine. I think Ashley brought that up. I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, Undertaker is supposed to compete for a title, but they're not saying which. I mean, I don't think Undertaker's going to face The Miz at WrestleMania. It'd be a great feather in the cap for The Miz, and he totally deserves it. But, I mean, I don't think that's going to happen. The match that I'm keep hearing is a possibility for WrestleMania is Undertaker and Finn Balor, which, yes, please. I want to see Balor return to the Rumble. I mean, Finn Balor, Samoa Joe, Ty Dillinger, names that I think we possibly could see at the Royal Rumble. You never know at this point. We'll get into that on the Wednesday show, or when we get into more in depth and find out more people that may or may not be appearing at the Rumble. So that's what we've got. Yeah, Vince said it was more long term and not something short term like Taker and Cena. So yeah, I mean, I could see that it would work. So I guess we'll figure it out when we get to it. But for the most part, Raw was fine tonight. I mean, there was a couple matches that were really decent. Tag match was good. And I like the 6-man main event. Everything else was pretty much filler. But that's pretty much the show. So that's your show for tonight. I want to thank everyone for joining us. Thank you, Pedro and Jeremy, for joining us in chat. Thank you, Scott, for joining us for a little bit. Hopefully, Ashley will be joining us on Wednesday. And we'll be getting Ashley's thoughts on the UK tournament as well as a little bit on Raw. So if you want to follow Ashley on Twitter, and it's at Ashley's My Name UK. Gaming with Ash just went up yesterday. Check that out. It's with the Nintendo Switch. And Ashley will return tomorrow night, 9 p.m. for the Wednesday Wrestling Podcast. We talk all things professional wrestling, SmackDown, NXT, 205 Live, Lucha Underground, which is now done. So we're not going to be talking Lucha Underground for quite a while. Ring of Honor, TNA Impact Wrestling, Anthem Impact Wrestling, depending on how you're calling it, New Japan Pro Wrestling, the Indies, all over the world. So we're going to be talking all about that on Wednesday, as well as What Culture Pro Wrestling, which had another show too. So we're going to discuss that. And that'll be discussed on Wednesday. Also, check out Ashley's content on the SNS Radio Network, snsradionetwork.com. And that link is in the description bar. My good friend, another compadre of mine, and the person that actually did the show with me tonight, that is Great Traveling Scott. His dashboard confessionals can be found at Great Traveling Scott on Twitter. That's GR8 Trav, TRAVLN Scott. And his YouTube channel link is in the description bar, along with the YouTube channels of Aaron, Mr. Entertainment, Cleveland, and Acer, and also everybody's YouTube channels and everybody's Twitter accounts are in the description bar below. A real quick programming note for the network this week. So obviously a week from today, when we're filming this, a week from today is actually going to be the Academy Awards nominations. And when that happens, AJ, Ashley, and myself will be going semi-live, 205 Live, that style, to give our reactions to the actual nominations themselves. And we're going to do a video talking about our, not predictions, but our reactions to the reactions. So that's going to be fun. Looking forward to that. A lot of movie content coming in the network soon. We're going to have a video coming in probably this weekend with the SAGs, the WGA, the PGA, and the DGA. All the guilds are going to be a prediction video coming up soon. And, of course, that's going to lead us to Versus this week. Should be fun. And that's going to be on Sunday. Like I said, tomorrow, Wednesday Wrestling Podcast, 9 p.m., talking all things wrestling. Thursday, Sip and Snack. Friday, AJ's movie reviews is Split and Triple X. And that's going to be coming your way. Maybe something else. I guess we'll find out sooner rather than later. And Gaming with Ash returns on Monday. And who knows, maybe we'll get some Horror Nights content soon. I guess you're going to have to wait and find out. So there's always that. So once again, I want to thank everyone for watching tonight. Thanks, everyone, for listening. And as always, in a world where there are a billion wrestling podcasts, we're very pleased that once more tonight you've chosen a Popcast. I want to thank everyone once again for watching, listening, and getting us over 305,000 views on this network in the span of a very short amount of time. So thank you out there for everything. And until tomorrow, boys and girls, that's all I got to say about that.